Welcome to Manifesting Through Motherhood. I'm your host, Lindsay Williams, a self-development mentor, entrepreneur and author, dedicated to helping busy mums like you manifest success, balance and create passive income on your terms. With years of experience in mindset, manifestation, fitness, parenting and business growth, I share simple yet powerful strategies to help you transform your life without the overwhelm. If you're ready to up-level your mindset, build a thriving business and create the life you truly deserve, you're in the right place. You can also find all my books on Amazon, packed with tools to help you manifest and grow. So don't forget to follow the podcast to be updated on all new episodes. And let's get going. Welcome back to the podcast. We have a guest on today. It's been a while since I've had a guest on. It's the first one of the year and we are welcoming the lovely Kim Smith. So I'd like to introduce Kim. She is a quadruple amputee and this was due to a UTI that developed into sepsis. She had all 4 limbs amputated and as she is quoted, "My life will never be the same again." But Kim turned that around by raising awareness of sepsis, raising awareness of disabilities too, and helping to persuade the government to change building regulations to make all homes built future-proof for everyone, not just wheelchair users, meaning these homes people can live in for a lifetime. Sepsis is something that doesn't get enough awareness and kills so fast. Knowing the symptoms, if it would strikes, will save your life. But Kim is always smiling and positive about life, and she's actually the happiest she's ever been. And Kim is all about saving lives and awareness. People need to learn the symptoms because even fit and healthy people can develop sepsis from any infection. Actually, it was your anniversary, wasn't it, yesterday, 7 years. So it's quite nice fitting that you're on the podcast today because it obviously will bring back a lot of memories for you no matter how many years go back. And I bet it feels like yesterday, doesn't it? Your journey.
No,
so
it doesn't actually.
Does it not?
It feels like
You've always been
ago now.
Yeah.
It just feels like I've been like this forever in a way.
Yeah.
And yet it is only 7 years,
So, can you take us back to when you first became unwell and what were the signs? Did you feel something wasn't right?
Yeah, I was in Spain at my villa and we'd been out on the Saturday night and I'd been complaining of this back pain. And I started to feel quite unwell. I was really, really cold. I'd got thick jumpers on. I'd got blankets around me. I'd got the central heating on and the log burner. My husband kept saying it was like a greenhouse inside and he was sitting outside. And I'm sitting there shivering. And I just thought I'm coming down with something because we're good at fobbing it off. We just get on with life, women. Mm-hmm. So I was quite severely breathless. And I put that down to, it's the weather. It's the climate change. It's the weather. And so I was using my inhaler, but it wasn't helping. I had no idea that these symptoms were part of the sepsis. I had no idea that when you get breathless, that's because the infection is causing you to be breathless because your immune system's working so hard to try and protect you. I'd got slurred speech, but I just thought, oh, that's unusual. My medication doesn't usually do that to me at this time of day because the medication that I used to take used to give me slurred speech, but I only took it at night. So it would only affect me when I took it in the evening. Mm-hmm. So I didn't realise that either. I hadn't really known that I'd got anything wrong until I started to get pain in my left kidney side and thought, maybe it's my kidneys. Maybe I've got a UTI and it's gone to my kidneys because I've never had problems with my kidneys before. And that was the first I thought maybe it's a UTI, but I'd got no idea. I hadn't got symptoms of a UTI. But I did start to feel quite unusually unwell. So I thought, right, okay, let's get to the doctors and get checked. And then I don't know, it must have been gut because I knew it was perhaps something a bit more than a UTI. I decided to go to the local hospital. I thought they'll know a little bit more about what's going on than I do. So went to the local hospital, went to the counter, and I can speak a bit of Spanish. And I just said dolor aquí, which means pain here, and pointed to my left side kidney area. And I didn't know how to say kidney or urine, so I didn't even say infection, because I could have said pienso infección, I think infection. Do you know what I mean? And they might have done other checks, but they didn't. So I was x-rayed and sent away saying nothing's broken. The next day, I was so unwell, I got my husband to take me to the doctors. And at some point, and I don't remember doing it because everything's very sketchy. I don't even remember. I remember going to the counter at the hospital, but I don't remember being x-rayed and coming away from there. I vaguely remember my husband trying to help me across the road the next day into the doctors. And then when he jogged my memory, I vaguely remember there was a translator in there with another couple, and her saying, apparently, I looked really ill, but I don't remember her saying that. But I vaguely remember there was some kind of conversation. But apparently at some point, my daughter found it on my phone. I'd done a screenshot from my Translate app. Because you couldn't get signal in town, I'd obviously been alert enough to know to do that. And I'd put in that, I think I have a urine infection. He apparently tested my urine, which is something that he was very lucky to get, because when you're in this kind of stage of sepsis, you don't pass much urine. So he was very lucky to get a sample. He tested my urine, said I'd got a urine infection, apparently gave me an injection in my bottom. We then left, and apparently Steve went in the chemist to get the prescription, and he was told, we don't have any in stock, come back tomorrow. We went home and I went to bed. No, I don't do that. I just carry on. So I must have been extremely unwell at that stage. I took myself to bed. I woke at 4 o'clock in the morning and I said to Steve, I'm dying. I need to go to hospital right now. I'm not going to live. I'm going to die. I'm really, really ill. He brought the car around, got me in the car, took me to the hospital. Apparently, they took me through, made him wait in a patient area. And 2 hours later, they took him a black bag with my clothes and my jewellery in. When I say clothes, it was my pyjamas and my dressing gown and slippers, because I hadn't got dressed. And they gave them to him and they said, she could die. She's got 6 hours to live, I think it was.
Bloody hell.
So he's in a foreign country. He doesn't speak a word of Spanish, and he relied on me to kind of get by with the Spanish. And he didn't have a clue what was going on. He went home, phoned my eldest daughter. She phoned the family. They all started rally round, tried to get a flight over. They couldn't get anything till that afternoon. Now, our closest airport is Luton, but they had to go down to Gatwick to fly over. So they got down there late that afternoon. By the time they arrived early evening, it was too late for visiting, so they couldn't see me. So they came up to the hospital the next morning, and Gemma describes it as a McDonald's drive-through window. And she said that they could just talk to me through a phone and look at me through this little window. And they came back in the afternoon. They had to gown up and come in. And when Becky pulled the sheet back, my youngest daughter, to see and hold my hands had already turned purple. So she knew at that stage I was going to lose my hands. I don't think they checked my legs. But yeah, that was it. So within 2 days, the 27th of September, I'd gone to the hospital. On the 29th, I was then admitted and into an induced coma. 6 weeks in a coma in Spain before my travel insurance would finally fly me home. I always laugh because they told Becky, no, we can't foresee why she can't get on a commercial airline.
Oh, dear.
And Becky lost it with them and said, well, are you stupid? I've just told you she's in a coma. She's wired up to loads of machinery. How the hell do you expect her to walk on a plane? So they came back to her and said, we're sending an air ambulance and we're going to bring her back. And yeah, I was brought back to Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes Hospital couldn't believe the state of me. They'd been told I had black digits. My arms were black nearly up to my elbow, or my right one especially. My my pressure sores. I'd got a grade 4 pressure sore on the back of my head and my bottom, which are the worst you can get, and you can die from those alone. Never mind, I've just survived sepsis. They were trying to kill me off. I think they just didn't turn me at all. So then when I eventually woke, I spent a week in another ward, and then I was moved to another hospital for my amputations in Bedford, which is about 30 minutes from where I am. And then I was 3 months there before going to rehab to learn how to move again, because although it sounds stupid, my body didn't know how to sit up. I had no idea how to sit up. It was crazy. So I spent 3 months there. No, I didn't. I spent 7 weeks there, actually. After 7 weeks, I was doing what I could do, and they let me go home. And now I just feel that I have to warn everybody about the symptoms of sepsis. So I'm always doing videos and raising awareness. I'm on a couple of sepsis research groups for actual research, trying to work out how we can, help with this research and trials and different things. So I kind of get myself really involved with that. If ever the newspapers want a story, they always kind of contact me. Oh, can we do a story on you about sepsis? I'm like, yep. So just to raise awareness, because there's just not enough awareness out there. I think people have heard of it and think, oh, well, that won't happen to me because I'm fit and healthy. The problem is with sepsis, it does affect everybody. It doesn't matter if you're fit and healthy, if you're young or old. There's not one particular person or whatever that it won't touch. It will affect everybody, and it could be anybody at any time. And so everybody needs to be aware of the symptoms, so that if they get any, they can get straight to hospital and say, I think I have sepsis, please can you check me? And I always say to people now, if that hospital turns you away, say, no, sorry, I don't think you're right. I need to be really assured. Can you please give me somebody else to see? And can I have a second opinion? Martha's Law is a good one to quote to them, so that you get a second opinion. Everybody is entitled to a second opinion. And if you don't think they're right, don't go home, because you can die in a matter of hours.
Do you think the hospital when you was abroad, do you think they need more awareness? Do you think that, or do you think they just didn't know as well? Because like you said, you come in presenting, you're not going to think sepsis straight away, are you? You're just going to think you're on holiday, she's maybe had a drink, or she might just be a little bit unwell. You probably don't think the worst. Nobody thinks the worst, but they shouldn't take it, for face value.
I knew something was wrong. I knew it wasn't just an infection. I've never felt like that before in my life. But I thought it was Spain. I thought it was because of the language barrier. But the more and more I hear in this country, even today, I've just learned that Andrea McLean, TV personality, has been rushed to hospital with pneumonia and sepsis. Wow. It happens in this country too. Yeah. There's so many quad amputees in this country alone, but all around the world, because medical professionals are missing it. So it's not just Spain, it's all around the world. We need this awareness. We need to shake the doctors. That's what I'd like to do to them.
Yeah, I feel like doing that a lot of the time.
And say, listen to my story and learn the symptoms when a patient comes in and they're saying they don't feel right. They've never felt so bad in their lives. Listen to them, check them for sepsis. And it's difficult because there's kind of like a little fine line where a patient can be okay and then the patient's in septic shock. And once they're in septic shock, then it's critical. Then it's really, really urgent. And that's when you really need IV antibiotics fast. The longer you delay, the more chance of death. So everybody needs to be aware of the symptoms and getting treatment fast.
Yeah, I remember when my granddad, he lost his first limb years ago, and he was in the nursing home. And he said, my toe's going to drop off. I said, what are you talking about? I looked at his toe and it was black. he said it's like a burnt sausage. And the nurse said it's gonna drop off. I said, "Are you joking? You're not." So I rang the
Yeah.
ambulance. Went, take this man to the hospital straight away. They were just going to leave it, and it went too far, and he had to have his whole leg above knee off.
Mm.
It was just a big shock, but the infection
Mm.
was just going all over his body. He had to have
Yeah.
more and more leg off, and obviously years down the line, he had his second leg off because of the same thing. Took over overnight. Within 24
Wow.
hours, it had spread up his leg. You could see the purple. It was all going, and it was a life or choice. He said to me, "What shall I do?" I
Mm.
went, "Well, I'd rather you be here. We'll help you. Don't worry." He said, "Well, I'll get a
Mm.
false leg." I went, "Well, there we go." So he had a really good mindset. I mean, he got to in his 70s to have that good mindset. All he was happy about was being able to go to the club, to have a drink with his friends. So I was quite, surprised. But for you, I know you had all four limbs off at the same time, didn't you? So
Yeah.
you didn't have one, and then you waited, and you basically just woke up. And I remember going to visit Grandad, and he just lifted his leg up, and he just lifted his stump up, and was having a giggle. So I thought, I'm just going to go with him. He's in a good mood,
Mm.
and he really took it well. But your life, you was in this, in the same profession as me, hairdressing, and to not be
Mm.
able to do things that you love, it is so life changing, and for your
Yeah,
family.
absolutely. Um, I had hoped that when I have my hand transplant that maybe one day I'll be able to hairdress again, but apparently no, the hands won't be dexterous enough. So
You've also got to think as well, if, like you say, have a transplant. We learn our memory for. I know cutting. People say to me, "It looks so easy when you cut, but it's seamless." I think, isn't it? Because you're just cutting, and it's your body, it's your fibers, isn't it? Like your hands just do it automatically, like blow drying, cutting,
mm,
shaving.
yeah.
You have to relearn everything. And I think having
Mm.
prosthetic legs is a lot easier than having, I think, with your hands is completely different, because
Mm.
your legs
Yeah.
is different. We do more with our hands, and we do take it for advantage, don't we, sometimes,
Yeah,
until it's been,
absolutely.
taking it away. How
Yeah,
did your
'cause
family take everything?
yeah, oh, they've been brilliant. They've been absolutely brilliant. So supportive. It's been absolutely incredible, which is great. So I don't have to actually worry about kind of doing anything. They've stood by me. They helped me with everything I need help with, and they're just incredible. So I'm just very lucky.
So you've had lots of physio, lots of appointments. I bet you were moving
Yeah.
in that hospital, weren't you? I bet you had your own bed
Mm.
in the corner. But,
Yeah.
what would you say the most challenging thing was after your operation? How long was you in hospital for, would you say?
Altogether, nearly 8 months.
Wow, that is a long
Um,
time.
yeah, and it's funny because a lot of it, obviously, I don't remember being in the coma. I don't remember a lot of it from when I first came round. Um, it it's funny because I kind of think of things sometimes and I go, oh, did you do this or did that happen or who did you call them? What? And Steve's like, oh, I don't remember. So he can't even fill the blanks in for me now when I want him to know what happened. He can't remember. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of it's just different now. I've thrown myself into raising awareness of different things, and I'm obviously very passionate about the sepsis awareness. That is first and foremost with everything, because it's saving lives. And I've saved a lot of people's lives by just going on and telling them to know the symptoms. And the times I get people listen to one of my videos and then go, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know anyone could get sepsis. I didn't know that they were the symptoms. Oh, thank you for that. So I've had so many people message me saying, you've saved my life. Thanks to your videos, I remembered it when I was unwell and I phoned an ambulance and I got help. And I've just come out of hospital with sepsis.
Oh,
So
wow.
what I'm doing, I know, is helping to save lives. And I just will continue to do it because I
Why,
just feel
why,
so
why do you think there
passionate.
is a lack of awareness, and what do you think needs to change going forward? So you're
I
agreed to
think
rule the world now.
Yeah, I think the lack of awareness is the fact that there's not money put into, for like
True.
TV adverts and things. I was told, because there was a Sepsis Research Feet did an advert in Scotland, because they're a Scottish sepsis charity. And I said, oh, UK Sepsis Trust need to do this as well. And they said, no, the trouble is it's cheap to put an advert on the telly in Scotland. In the UK, it costs like thousands and thousands just for a quick, short advert. So I was like, oh, okay. So then really we need the government or the NHS to be doing it, because you get them for strokes, you get them for meningitis, you get them for heart attacks. Why have we not got this awareness for sepsis? Sepsis probably kills more people than all of those put together. This is when I tell people that, they're like, oh, really? Yep. Around the world, every 3 seconds, someone dies from sepsis.
Because what's going on inside as well, your body don't visually see, like with the stroke and
you can't see
different
it.
things. You can't see it. It's what's going on. And I know with my granddad, the cardiovascular, everything just started kicking in, and it was too late. But he got what he needed, the help that he needed, and there was no other option.
Was your granddad due to diabetes?
Yeah, he had type 2 and the cardiovascular, and then he got gangrene, and then it started to spread, and then the infection was all over his body. I don't know how he survived it at that age because it was quite bad.
A lot of leg amputees, it's due to sepsis. Not always, but a lot. Not sepsis, sorry. I mean diabetes. But usually with quads, it's 9 times out of 10, it's either the meningococcal septicemia, so meningitis that's developed into sepsis, or just sepsis. I mean, the amount of people I've heard, like one young girl, I think she was about 32 or something, went to hospital on Boxing Day a few years ago, and they said, oh, go away, you've just been drinking too much yesterday. She had sepsis.
Yeah.
She lost all 4 limbs just because they didn't check her because they thought she was drunk. I suppose the slurred speech.
You do see a lot in children. I've seen more articles on children with sepsis. Not a lot, I would say, on adults. With you saying that now, it's been a lot on children because they do make it more of a push. But they should use that as research and get more funding and have more people out there. I know there's support groups, but not everybody sees that, do they? They need to be on the TV, on these billboards, these these digital ones. They should be free. There should be things going up every day on different awarenesses. I don't understand why it's always about money, and it frustrates me because I'm like, why does it always have to be about money when you're going to cost the NHS so much money anyway if it's going to be too late, and people are going to need so much recovery?
Absolutely. I mean, for me to be in a coma for six weeks in Spain would have cost the UK a lot of money, let alone the 3 weeks then in England, and then all the treatment that I needed afterwards for the amputations. That surgery would have cost a fortune to the NHS. Then all the physio would have cost a fortune. It's ongoing treatment. If there were more awareness around, had I have known about these symptoms, had somebody have done a video that I'd seen, or I'd seen something on the television or something, and there was more awareness, then you could get to hospital, you could get IV antibiotics and maybe just have to stay in a couple of days and home again. It's not going to cost the NHS anywhere near as much in the long run.
But there is a lot of ignorance about a lot of things, and as we've seen after lockdown, things have changed. So what advice would you give to someone who is recovering from sepsis or has experienced a similar life-altering event?
I think just find something to keep you busy, because it was hard for me at first. I didn't know what to do, but to find something to keep me busy was good. And I think also to be aware that you get post-sepsis syndrome, because post-sepsis syndrome is horrible. There are so many symptoms, and I mean literally loads. But things like PTSD, depression, insomnia, hair falling out, skin being flaky and dry, mood swings. The list goes on and on and on, and I can't remember half of them. It's a lot. But I just want everybody to know the symptoms of sepsis. So if anyone does develop any infection at all, watch out for slurred speech and confusion, extreme shivering and muscle pain, passing little or no urine in a day, severe breathlessness, it feels like you're going to die, skin mottled or discoloured, And also cold limbs can be a sign. And also if you are able to check, blood pressure and temperature will be higher or lower than normal. So anything like that, you need to get to A&E and get it checked.
It's better to be safe than sorry. But you know what A&E is
Absolutely.
like at the minute? Well, I recently lost my nan, and she went in with a chest infection, and her baseline was quite good. She was 93, but she waited that long to go into A&E, and we thought, well, she's going to be in A&E. Moved up to a ward. She went to 3 beds. She never made it, and I just think she ended up with delirium. And to
Oh,
see that happening, because I do think that they give her too many drugs. She's ended up catching infections that I think now should we just kept her at home, but you just, like you say, you don't know what's going to happen, but you think hospitals are there to help, and being 93, you can't just recover that quick.
no.
And it was her time to go. And the thing that I take from that is she's 93. And I did say to her when she was like in between here and there, she kept saying, I said, if you go up there, he's going to be there. He might have his legs back, or he might not. So be prepared. You might have to look after him. I thought that was going to be a bit of a deterrent, because it was a bane of her life, because it was hard for her. She was an older
Yeah.
lady. And I moved in across one, and I helped take care of my granddad and my nan. But he was able to walk with he got he got a prosthetic. He went out. But the last time, he was a bit older, and it was too much for nan, and he had to go into a nursing home, and it was just too much, and I can't do it. And she said, I'm going to be honest, I can't look after you anymore. And it is hard for the other person, especially when
Yeah.
you're a certain age. Like lifting, he was really heavy.
Mm.
Phantom pain. I don't know if you have phantom pain. He was always saying,
All
my leg's
amputees,
itching.
all amputees suffer with phantom pain. Yeah.
Yeah, you
I've
just
never
feel
met
like
one
you
yet
could.
that doesn't.
Yeah, it's funny because I used to work in a gym. So I worked in cardiac rehab a couple of years ago, and I did a bit of work in a more veteran gym. And a lot of the lads were like, used to wind me up, kind of just itch my foot. I went, what? And he went, I'm being serious, my foot's itching. So we'd have a bit of a laugh about it. And the mindset was so good. But how do you keep your mindset so good? Like you're always smiling on everything. You've just found a purpose, I think. With things, there's always a silver lining with what we do. We can take out of our lives, can't we? What we experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happier in my life now than I've ever been. I'm doing something that I'm really passionate about, raising awareness of sepsis. I'm saving lives. So anything I can do around that, I'll do it, because if I can raise awareness of sepsis and save, one person's life, I've done what I need to do. But I want to save everybody's lives. I don't want anyone else dying from sepsis. And I just love doing it, so it's given me a new purpose in life. I absolutely love doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if people that are in the homes, I know we talk about the homes and adaptations, do you find that you speak to a lot of people that are struggling to stay in the homes and getting the funding to, have commodes and have baths put in? It must be hard as well for people having to wait for something that's needed
There
is
are
is
over 400,000 people in the UK that need an accessible home, that are living in the wrong type of home for their needs, that are struggling day by day. And yeah, I mean, that is something that I'm also passionate about. And even though I'm now being given a wheelchair accessible bungalow, I've told Happinteg Housing Association, who I've been working alongside to try and help get the government to build these all future homes to an accessible standard, so that they don't have to do these expensive adaptations. If a property needs an extension on it to make it a bit more accessible, you could be looking at £50,000. And that's ridiculous when apparently a new build 3-bedroom house now, to put those extra things in place, would only cost £700. That's a pittance, an absolute
yeah.
pittance in the cost of a brand new home. £700 is nothing. And if the government were to say to all builders, right, you've got to build to that standard now, they'd have to do it. But we just need to kind of keep pushing the government to get them to do it.
We all know what that's like when you're trying to get
Mm,
something. You've just got to
yeah,
fight. I've had to fight for my son for so many things, having additional needs. And, you've got two, he's got a disability, and to fight for one-to-ones, he's in an accessible school, he's got everything that he needs. He has hydrotherapy. I've been very lucky, but I've used the right terminology, the right wording. I've worked in groups with other mums, and I've plucked like so many different like information, like just power words, and that's really helped me. So you helping somebody with all this, you've proving them that they've got something there ready to go. Then they can't be talked out of it then because you're like the advocate. Then they have to
yeah,
hire you
yeah,
for the day or something.
yeah, absolutely.
So how are your children? Then did you say you've got two children,
Two daughters, yeah,
two
and three
daughters? Yeah,
grandchildren. The
yeah.
eldest
So
daughter's got a boy and a girl, and the youngest has got a girl. So I've got two granddaughters and a grandson.
and you're lucky you've got them, and it is easy
Mm,
when you've got a family that do support you and a partner.
yeah,
Not everybody has that. Some people are
no,
on the ward in the house, it's stuck
mm,
downstairs. They can't even have a bath upstairs. I hear this
mm,
so many times. You could have a carer to come and wash them. That's not dignity. This shouldn't have to
yeah,
happen.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
So how do you balance your self-care, your advocacy work? What's your day-to-day like? Are you doing a lot behind the scenes?
Oh, I'm always busy doing something. Yeah. Obviously chatting to you today, and I've been out shopping this morning, trying to buy a few bits and having a look round at what we need for our new home for when we move. And yeah, I've got lots going on this week, different either Zoom meetings or going out doing a talk or whatever. So yeah, I'm always keeping myself busy with something.
Yeah, I know we briefly spoke about, people that have had like transplants, going forwards. What's like your plan? Are you, still hanging on just to see what happens? And because there's so much now, isn't there, that is available for us, and which is really
Yeah.
good. Like there should be money being put into a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm actually on a waiting list for a double hand transplant. There was a program on BBC actually on, I think it was Monday morning, with the professor from Leeds Hospital talking about hand transplants and two of the patients that have had hand transplants, and somebody from, I think it was the organ donation, saying that limbs aren't actually on the tick box, if you like, for
I was going to ask you
saying
that because
right
I did not
disease.
realise. Yeah,
No, so although you can donate heart, lung, kidneys, etc., I think eyes are on there. Um, Limbs aren't on there. So then they have to ask the families, can we
right.
take that limb if we can get a match? And majority of the time they get a no. And so I've been waiting 3 years and still haven't managed to get a match yet. But they have found that I've got an antibody in my blood that's causing this no match. So there's other meetings going on at the end of this month to see what the chances are of doing it with this antibody, if it would be too high a risk to the hands rejecting or what they can do. So it's just a matter of wait and see now, and hopefully somebody will come along with the right match. But to raise awareness that as well on that if you are a donor and you would be happy to have somebody have any part of your body, then tell your family, because
Mm.
your family will be asked, your next of kin will be asked if you would be happy to donate those organs. And like I've always said, they can have anything I've got when I'm gone. If they can use it, they can have it. If my body's no longer any good for research, for donation, they can use it for research. I'm more than happy for them to have any body parts of mine to have, even for research, if they can't be donated. So I'm just sitting and waiting and hoping and praying that one day I'll get my transplant and I'll be able to be even more independent, to be able to kind of do a lot more for myself, dress myself again, do the cooking again. Steve can't wait for that either. He can't wait for me
Yeah.
to
I hope you're
do the
training him up
cooking
in the
again. He
meantime.
hates it. he likes to sit and watch the telly while I'm doing it. And now it's the other way around. I sit and watch the telly while he's doing it.
So has he had to step up his game then? What's he been doing? Has he been doing the bedding, doing the hoovering? He knows what it's been like for you, probably for years.
Absolutely, yeah.
But we just take over, I think. We don't realise our hands, and obviously I've got my salon at home, and my hands get really tired, and I don't know how long, I've been hairdressing 24 years, how long I'm going to be able to do it, because they do get sore and I get tingling. So your body does, it doesn't last forever with certain things, and that's why I do my podcasting and publishing now. I've had to adapt because I've noticed things are slowing down, and I've got fibromyalgia and my body aches and I get tired. But that's probably just because I've just battered my body over the years and looking after my granddad and bathing him and lifting him up, and I've done my backing, helping him for years. But I won't change that because it's just what I was doing at the time. I was a young girl in my 20s looking after an old fella, and he drove me mad. He drove everybody mad, but it was a lot.
I was hairdressing for 40 years.
Yeah.
Over 40 years, because I started at 13 as a Saturday girl. So I was hairdressing for over 40 years, and I still would have been doing it. I still would have been doing it now. And I probably never would have retired. There would have always been somebody that would have wanted a haircut, and I've said, oh, come on then. I loved it. It was a passion, but I had to find a new passion. And so, like you say, you've had to do that because of your hands and things. But no, I was still there for doing hairdressing.
I'm hoping I can still. I love it. I love doing it. So I'm hoping I can do it for as long as I can. Maybe not as much as what I've worked in salons and done teaching.
Yeah,
I couldn't do that because I would absolutely ache. My arms ache, repetitive strain. It just gets too much because we don't realise the hairdryer does ripple up your body, but everyone doesn't get free haircuts now, do they? That's the thing. Everyone has to go out. All your daughters have to go and have the hair done, and it must be frustrating looking at the hair going, oh, I would have done that better. That must be hard work.
And, absolutely. And I can't cut my own hair anymore either, because I could cut my own hair. I mean, my friend and I used to do each other's, but I could actually cut my own hair, and that bugs me now because people never cut it quite how I want it. I have finally found a hairdresser that, on the whole, usually does it okay. Sometimes she does go a little bit shorter than I'd like, but that's rare. It's not. She usually does it exactly how I like it. Doesn't always blow dry exactly how I like it, but I'm really fussy. I like it done my way, and I think most hairdressers are the same. We probably like it done a certain way or whatever.
Well, you're under pressure, aren't you? Because that first as a hairdresser, you're like, oh, why did you have to tell me that you used to be a hairdresser? So how are people, like your friends? Have your friends been really supportive that you've known for a long time? Are they still around? Because you see a lot of this happening where people say, well, I don't get invited anywhere, and my friends really struggle with with the changes, and that's fine because we make new friends, don't we? We just move on. But if you've still got that support, that's amazing for you.
I've got some friends since I've had for school years, and they've been incredible. And I've been very lucky that we've got a very good bond, and we still see each other. We still all keep in touch, and it's lovely. They've all been amazing. So I'm very, very lucky, really. Not everybody has that.
Well, yeah, because you want life to just carry on. You don't want to be seen as somebody disabled. It's hard.
No, I'm still me. I'm just missing my hands and legs. I'm still me. It's like when I go out and people stare at me because my hands and legs are missing. They're usually so busy staring down that I don't have hands. It's usually the hands that bother them more. They spot, I suppose, because they're out on show, that they stare at. They don't see that I'm looking at them. I try not to now. I try not to look. But I couldn't help it one day when I was at Costco and my PA was getting something out of the fridge for me. I went, I got terrible cramp in my right foot. Well, this lady had been staring at me, and Julie started laughing because the lady come back and had another little look at me just to make sure that I didn't really have a foot there. And I was like, yeah, that's phantom pain, love. But I did have that cramp, but she obviously didn't realise that would be why I was saying it. She was coming to look to see if I did actually have a leg and a foot.
And this is why you need awareness, because we've got a deaf family and my auntie gets so frustrated. So if we go out, they'll look at me and my auntie will wave and say, don't be ignorant. Because she said, I'm not stupid, I'm just deaf, I can lip read. and I feel like really embarrassed, but it is true. You look at somebody and
Yeah.
think they're just not the same person because our brains don't register. But I grew up with, with a deaf family. I've grew up with my granddad. For me, it's just normality. And
Well, one of
my,
my best friends is
yeah,
deaf, and so
yeah.
yeah, I know to look at her and she can lip read, and she's great. She lip
But
reads
if you went
brilliant.
out for a meal and you went to choose a meal, they'd probably look at you to think of the meal. And it's funny, it can be quite ignorant as well, can't it? And it
No,
can be quite frustrating.
they usually talk to her and ask
Oh, that's
her,
good then. Yeah.
but she's not looking at them when they ask. So I usually explain she's deaf.
Yeah.
You need to get her to look at you, and then she'll explain what or I'll say to Brenda, she wants to know what you want, and I do it like that. But yeah, I mean, she's just amazing. She's just amazing. So yeah, I've been to hospital before now, and I've had a nurse come in and say to my PA, I went in for a small procedure, and said to my PA, oh, does she need blah blah blah, and does she need this, that, and the other? Well, I just flipped, and I went, she is sat right here. She's got a tongue in her head, and she can speak, so you can ask her yourself. I was absolutely fuming. She just went, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was like,
So
yeah,
I
now
didn't
you know.
launch out your chair.
But I hate it when people talk to my PA instead of talking to me. I'm here. I'm human. I can talk, It
Yeah.
just really riles me. So, yeah, I completely understand.
This is why we need awareness on everything.
Yeah.
Like, life needs to change, things need to evolve, I think. But everybody can find you online. So I love in your TikToks, and you've got your Instagram. I'm going to put all your links in the show notes. And,
Oh,
I want
thank you.
people to share the episode as well. And I know you're going to have, you've got all sorts in the pipeline, and there's so much you can do with what you do and help people, because I have loads of friends that do advocacy work and they get the same messages. You've really helped me. Even some people to the point where I was going to end my life, and I looked to how you've, been able to accept this, whatever it was doing, and it stopped me. And I was like, that would be so powerful that somebody would message me to say, like, you really, really helped me. And if you're helping just one person, it just makes a
Exactly.
difference, doesn't it? And you know that what you're doing is things happen
It makes
for a
me feel
reason.
good. Yeah. Yeah, it
So
makes me feel good knowing I'm doing something good.
So you've got lots of things going on, and I'm guessing you'll be on lots of more podcasts. And I'm just glad that I came across you. It was just strange. I just came across you one day, and I was just like, I thought, oh, she'd be a great podcast guest, actually, because, I've got lots of listeners, and they'll absolutely love this episode, because it's just normal people coming on the podcast, and a lot of them are mums. So having awareness when you've got a family is really important as well. Because you need to look at signs for your children as well, because we do get fobbed off as mums, like, oh, they're all right, go away. But no, I think with your children, you do put your foot down a little bit more, don't you? Like, no, actually, I'm not going to go.
Heartbreaking, because I hear so many with children that die. Dylan Day, a young boy, 12 years old, went to the hospital. His mum took him to the doctors and the hospital. They all kept saying he's got flu, go home, rest. He died of sepsis so fast, and he was a fit, healthy young footballer, and it's just heartbreaking. He was fighting for he died while I was fighting for my life. So 7 years ago he died, just over, and it's heartbreaking. And I just think, they should have let him live and took me. I'm much older. I'd had quite a lot of life, and let him live. And I think that a lot, and I just think, it's not fair. But then I think, well, maybe I was saved because I've got to do this and raise awareness of it. Maybe my story. But his mum is doing an incredible thing of raising awareness. She's always sharing his photos and posts about the grieving and his journey with the sepsis and everything. Well, their journey with the sepsis. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just a high school friend. She died a couple of years ago. She'd having some issues with her stomach. I really don't know the ins and outs. And then obviously I spoke to another friend and seen really shock. She died. And then obviously her sister must have told her and said she ended up getting sepsis with whatever was going on, some gastral problems. Shocking. Like, she was fine. And you seen 2 days before, I just couldn't get my head around it. She'd been posting on social media, I'm in hospital, I'm having this, doing, to then be gone. And I'm like, how's sepsis taken? I'm like, have they not been doing anything right? Have they not picked this up? So you started to question, and then you get worried yourself because, like you say, when you're ill, you think, what if I get this? And I've got really bad health anxiety. I worry about everything I do with my son. I'm terrible. I drive my mum mad. I'm always at doctors and ring them up, but I'm always going to be safe. And the doctor's like, right, well, let's get you checked over. But only because I insist and I push them. But you've got to be insistent, haven't you?
You really
have
do.
a good doctors as well. You've got to have a good doctors, and don't let them fob you off, because it is busy. The NHS and the queue. I know people in hospital, they're waiting like 2 days for a bed on.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
And that's where things are going to get missed, like sepsis, aren't they? Waiting for a bed.
Yeah. People are dying literally in corridors because they don't have the beds for them, so they're putting them in corridors, and then there's no nurses to look after them, so they just get forgotten. And it's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking that we're in that situation now.
It's getting worse. It should be getting better, shouldn't it, really? So, but yeah, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up? Because I know you probably want to get on with the rest of your day. I know you're busy.
No, that's fine. I think, I've got the symptoms over, so that everybody knows those as well. So, but they can go on to either the Sepsis Research FEET sepsis charity or the UK Sepsis Trust, or they can just search in Google symptoms of sepsis and they will find them. So if ever they're a little bit concerned, just check, just think sepsis with any infection, rule it out. And if things start to change, get immediate help is all I'd like to say.
Yeah, I'll put loads of links, and I'll find some external links and I'll pop it in the show notes as well, so that at least people they discover these podcasts all the time. So you might have got me regular listeners, but then I'll have people in a year's time that will see this, and I will maybe, if you wanted to contribute to anything or a blog, I have a blog section on the website, so I can always put things on there, which is quite good because then people are researching sepsis, they'll come across this podcast as well. So it's a really good boost, because listening to somebody who's been through it is a lot better than just reading an article, because you actually see it's a real life person, and then it's good for you. Then people can come and follow you. So I can see you writing a book one day, like myself, and I can see.
Yes, I am. I'm already writing it.
I can see it.
I've written one, but I'm doing my second. I'm hoping to publish it on self-publish on Amazon.
Eventually. Oh yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, I'm in the paper today, so I've written an article for the Lancashire Post. So actually, it'd be quite good if you did another, something, and submit it, because we just need everything out there. People are reading all the time on the phone, and I read everything, and you just don't know what you just pick up just by having a little read. And we're always scrolling on our phones, so no excuses, have we? Well, there's podcasts like this, but thank you so much. For coming on the podcast and taking your time, and I hope your husband's been very patient, probably wanting to get on with his day. Me yapping in the background.
He's all right.
So I'll just start recording now, and then we'll have a little chat after. So thank you guys for listening to the podcast and tuning in, and you can follow Kim with the links in the show notes, and I'll speak to you later. Bye. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you feel inspired to take action and manifest the life you deserve. Don't forget to come and join me over on social media and Instagram at Busy Mums Fitness Corner for more tips, motivation and behind the scenes. And also be sure to check out my books on Amazon. They're designed to help you manifest your dreams and grow. And if you're ready to take the next step and work with me, you can head over to my Linktree for all the details. Let's make magic happen together. So until next time, keep manifesting and stay amazing.